Every man who ever became great had to vanish first. He disappeared into silence, into failure, into rejection. But inside that darkness, he found something the world could not see: discipline, resilience, and unshakable vision. What if the only reason your life hasn't changed yet is because you haven't dared to disappear? The man who disappears willingly enters that darkness. He welcomes the pressure. He lets the weight of discipline press against him, shape him, refine him. He knows that the pain of obscurity is temporary, but the strength it gives is eternal. Think of Edison again. For years, he was dismissed as eccentric, a failure, a dreamer, out of touch with reality, thousands of failed attempts with no success to show. But he had disappeared from the judgment of the world. He no longer listened to their laughter. He listened only to the inner voice that said, "Keep going." And in time, the light broke forth, not just in his invention, but in the truth that solitude, persistence, and silence are the crucibles of greatness. Disappearance also demands the courage to detach from the old version of yourself. The man you once were will fight for survival. He will cling to the comforts, the habits, the identities that kept you ordinary. But transformation is betrayal. You must betray the old self to give birth to the new one. You must betray laziness with discipline, doubt with faith, fear with courage. This betrayal is not easy. It feels like tearing away a part of your flesh. It feels like death. But in every death of the old, there is the birth of the new. And only those who accept this cycle of death and rebirth ever taste true transformation. Napoleon Hill taught us that success begins in the mind. Your disappearance, then, is not just physical. It is mental. It is the refusal to think like the masses. It is the courage to believe when others doubt. It is the audacity to imagine wealth, power, and freedom when everyone else around you has surrendered to mediocrity. To disappear mentally is to close the door on weak thoughts, poisonous beliefs, and inherited limitations. And in that mental disappearance, you begin to reprogram your destiny. You no longer accept the stories you were told as a child, that success is for others, that wealth is evil, that power corrupts, that your dreams are too big. You vanish from those lies and build new truths. Truths of abundance, truths of discipline, truths of infinite possibility. This is why gratitude becomes essential in the process. Gratitude is not passive thankfulness, it is a weapon. It shifts your mind from scarcity to abundance, from complaint to power. In your disappearance, you must train yourself to give thanks for the little you have, for the breath in your lungs, for the fire in your spirit. Gratitude turns solitude into abundance. It tells your mind, I am not empty, I am full. I am not lacking, I am preparing. I am not abandoned, I am chosen. Think of Walt Disney sitting on a bench in Los Angeles, broke, rejected, carrying nothing but sketches of a mouse. He could have cursed his failure. He could have drowned in bitterness. But instead, he gave thanks for his imagination, for the gift of creation, for the vision no one else could see. Gratitude turned his despair into fuel. Gratitude gave him eyes to see the kingdom that did not yet exist, and that kingdom became reality. Gratitude is the light in the cocoon. It keeps you from going mad in the silence. It keeps you from mistaking preparation for punishment. Without it, disappearance feels like exile. With it, disappearance feels like sacred training. But remember this, disappearance is not forever. You are not meant to live hidden. You are meant to return. And when you return, you must return as a transformed being. Not timid, not half-prepared, not apologetic, but fierce, focused, unrecognizable. When the butterfly emerges, it does not crawl again, it flies. And so must you. Do not make the mistake of returning to the same old patterns, the same old habits, the same old crowd. If you return unchanged, your disappearance was wasted. But if you return transformed, your disappearance was the greatest decision of your life. The world does not need more people who never vanish. The world does not need more noise, more mediocrity, more shallow ambition. The world is starving for those who disappear, who transform, who return, carrying the fire of vision, the steel of discipline, the unshakable aura of purpose. Disappear, transform, return, that is the law. There is a sacred truth about transformation that most men never discover. The world rewards those who reappear with strength after vanishing with weakness. When you disappear, you are not escaping, you are sharpening your edge. You are turning yourself into a weapon forged in silence, a force the world cannot ignore. Look at the story of Winston Churchill. Before he became the unshakable voice of Britain in its darkest hour, he endured humiliation. He was pushed out of politics, mocked as a failure, banished into obscurity. But in his disappearance, he studied, he wrote, he observed, he prepared his spirit in silence, and when history demanded a lion, Churchill returned roaring. The man who had been forgotten became the voice that refused to let a nation surrender. That is the power of disappearing with intention. The crowd does not understand this. They think constant visibility equals strength. They post, they talk, they show off every step, every thought, every small achievement. They crave validation at every stage. But remember, true power is not advertised. True transformation does not live stream its growth. The oak tree does not announce every inch of its roots pushing through the soil. It grows unseen, and when it emerges, it is unshakable. Your transformation demands secrecy. Not everyone deserves to see your process. Not everyone has earned the right to witness your struggle. Some will mock it. Some will doubt it. Some will poison it with their fear. That is why you must vanish into silence until the work is done. Then, when you return, you will not need to explain. You will not need to defend yourself. Your results will speak louder than their doubts. But disappearance is more than discipline, more than purpose, more than vision. It is also resilience. Because in that hidden place, you will meet failure after failure. You will meet rejection, setbacks, disappointments that make you question everything. Most men retreat at this point. They say, "It was not meant to be." They crawl back into the comfort of mediocrity. But the ones who endure, the ones who rise, take every failure as fuel. They know each defeat is a lesson, each obstacle is a test, each setback is an invitation to grow sharper, stronger, wiser. Thomas Edison once said, "I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that do not work." That is resilience. That is the spirit you must carry in your disappearance. You are not failing, you are refining. You are not losing, you are learning. Every rejection is carving you into a sharper version of yourself. Napoleon Hill wrote of persistence as the backbone of success. Persistence is born in disappearance. When no one claps, when no one notices, when no one believes, persistence is the fire that keeps you moving forward. And once you ignite persistence, the universe itself begins to conspire in your favor. Doors open, people appear, opportunities emerge. It is as if the world waits for you to prove your worth in solitude before it entrusts you with power. Look to the life of Lincoln again. He lost elections, failed businesses, endured heartbreak, carried the weight of depression, but he persisted. He refused to surrender. He used every loss as preparation. He disappeared into resilience, and when the moment of destiny arrived, he rose as the leader strong enough to face the storm of civil war. Without that persistence forged in solitude, there would be no Lincoln the legend, only Lincoln the forgotten. And this is the law of transformation. Only those who endure the hidden seasons are worthy of the visible triumphs. Only those who disappear in silence can roar in power. Only those who master themselves in solitude can command respect in the world. So disappear not to escape, but to prepare. Disappear not to hide, but to sharpen. Disappear not to quit, but to rise. And when you return, let the world tremble at the sight of the person you have become. Because you are not returning as the same man. You are returning as a force, as a presence, as proof that disappearance is the birthplace of destiny. Do not fear being misunderstood in your disappearance. The greatest spirits were always misunderstood in their time. They were called dreamers, madmen, fools. Yet every insult became a secret confirmation that they were walking a path too high for the ordinary to recognize. The crowd laughs because it cannot see. The crowd doubts because it cannot believe. The crowd resists because your determination exposes their surrender. Let them laugh, let them doubt. Their noise is proof you are no longer one of them. Consider Galileo, standing before the court of men who refused to accept his truth. He had seen with his own eyes what they denied, that the earth moved, that the universe was greater than their narrow vision. For speaking truth, he was silenced, condemned, forced into seclusion. But history vindicated him. His disappearance became his immortality. And though the men who silenced him are dust, Galileo's vision still stands. Disappearance, then, is not weakness. It is alignment with truth that the world is not yet ready to face. In your solitude, you will also learn patience. The modern world despises patience. It wants speed, shortcuts, instant gratification. But transformation is not instant. You cannot microwave greatness. You cannot rush the roots of the oak. You cannot hurry the metamorphosis of the butterfly. If you try, you destroy it. The cocoon must remain closed until the wings are strong enough to break it. If you tear it open early, the butterfly dies. Your disappearance teaches you to wait, to endure the discomfort of not yet, to trust that unseen progress is still progress. Patience is not passive. It is active trust. It is working while believing. It is sowing seeds with faith that the harvest will come. It is rising every day to put one more stone in place, one more stroke on the canvas, one more step forward, even when nothing seems to change. This is the discipline of the invisible years, the years when no one notices, no one praises, no one cares. Those who survive these years are crowned in the visible years. Those who quit remain forgotten. Look at Colonel Sanders, who at 65 faced rejection after rejection, over 1,000 no's before one yes birthed KFC. Imagine if he had given up after the first rejection, or the 100th, or the 500th. But he did not. He persisted in obscurity until his recipe found its place in the world. His disappearance lasted decades, but his return built a legacy that outlived him. And here lies another truth. Your timeline is not the world's timeline. Society will tell you that if you are not successful by 25, you are late. That if you do not shine in your 30s, you have failed. But transformation does not bow to calendars. Purpose does not measure itself by birthdays. Your destiny blooms in its appointed season, and until then, you must keep building in silence. This is why adaptability must also live in your disappearance. For life will not unfold as you expect. Plans will crumble, paths will twist. What you thought was the way will vanish before your eyes. If you cling rigidly to one form, you will break. But if you adapt, if you bend, if you remain fluid, then no storm can uproot you. Adaptability is not weakness, it is survival. It is intelligence. It is the ability to disappear into new forms and return stronger each time. Henry Ford failed twice before building the Ford Motor Company. His first ventures collapsed. He faced ruin, humiliation, financial disaster. But he adapted. He adjusted his methods, his partnerships, his vision. He disappeared into reinvention, and from that reinvention emerged an empire that changed the world. Without adaptability, failure is final. With it, failure becomes the raw material of greatness. So in your disappearance, learn to bend but not break, learn to adjust but never surrender, learn to see setbacks as detours, not dead ends. Learn to trust that every collapse is preparing you for a stronger rise. The oak tree bends in the storm, but it does not snap, and when the winds are gone, it still stands. You too must stand. Alone, unseen, uncelebrated. You must face storms in silence, betray your old self, endure the fire, embrace patience, master adaptability. This is the price of transformation. This is the cost of destiny. And when you pay it fully, without compromise, you will return not as a survivor, but as a creator of worlds. When you disappear, you step into the most important battlefield of all, the battlefield of the mind. Outward change means nothing if the inner war is lost. The man who disappears but does not confront his own mind emerges unchanged, still enslaved to the same thoughts that chained him before. But the man who enters solitude with the courage to wrestle his own doubts, fears, and limitations emerges a conqueror. This is why Napoleon Hill declared that thoughts are things, living forces that shape the fabric of reality. Your disappearance must be the cleansing of thought, the purification of mind. You must slaughter the beliefs that weaken you. You must bury the voices that whisper you cannot. You must burn the stories that say you are too late, too broken, too small. For as long as those thoughts live, your old self lives. Consider Marcus Aurelius, the emperor philosopher. Surrounded by power, war, and betrayal, he disappeared into his meditations. He wrote in silence, in solitude, in the privacy of his own mind. Those writings became the foundation of Stoic philosophy, a guide for rulers and common men alike. His greatness was not built on the throne, it was built in his inner disappearance, his battle to master thought. You, too, must become a warrior of the unseen. Train your mind as you train your body. Guard your thoughts as you guard your treasures. Replace weakness with strength, scarcity with abundance, fear with faith. Speak to yourself as if you are already the person you are becoming. Build within before you reveal without. But disappearing into thought alone is not enough. Action is the blood of transformation. Without action, thought is illusion. Without movement, vision is fantasy. In your disappearance, you must move not for show, not for applause, but for progress. Every day build, every day create. Every day, take one step that the world cannot see, but your future self will thank you for. Think of the young Steve Jobs, who vanished into his garage with Wozniak. No stage, no spotlight, no recognition, just two men, tools, and vision. If this message struck you, don't keep it inside. Hit the like button, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Because Part 3 will reveal the final stage of this law, the moment when you rise from silence and make the world bow to your transformation.